Recently, images have surfaced on the internet of people in Porsches and Ferraris shutting down Interstate 75 as they race their luxury vehicles, prompting many people to ask, do these people think they can do whatever they want because they have money? Pretty much that's just about describes Naples, Florida. People who think they can do whatever they want because they have a lot of money. As you guys know from my YouTube channel, you've heard me repeat many times that I spent over 20 years of my life in Naples, Florida. And you may have heard my experiences of dealing with some of the snobby behaviors that you find people engaging in this city. And the description that people are giving Naples, Florida on the internet right now is a bunch of rich people who think they can do whatever they want because they have money, racing their sports cars down the interstate, shutting down the highways, and doing whatever they want because they feel with their money they can do it. That's just about describes Naples perfectly. Now, don't catch a minority or somebody who looks out of place doing the minimalist thing. They're going to have law enforcement on their case instantly. There used to be an old saying in Naples, Florida, money alone does not buy you a place in Naples, but class itself does. Port Royal, just to the left of us, is the community that founded wealth in Naples along with Aquiline Shores, and this really was the slogan for their community. Money alone does not buy you a place in Naples. They felt that not only did a person need to have money to live in Naples, but if they were going to allow somebody to live in their community, they had to have class as well. But I don't know what their definition of class is after all, because after living in Naples, Florida and traveling to 37 states, US and Canada, I can tell you that Naples, Florida is home to some of the nastiest, snobbiest, and rudest people that you're going to meet anywhere. In fact, just during today's video, you'll see people do a few things that are questionable. But again, they have all the money in the world, and who can stop them from doing whatever they want? Rick Scott, Donald Trump, these are just some of the names that have properties here in Naples, Florida. It's a type of place where people really do feel like they can grab somebody from wherever they want because they're able to afford to do it. It's individuals with the mindset that they feel that just because they have so much money, that laws don't apply to them. And it's really turned Naples into a nasty place. Sure, it may have some of the lowest crime analytics, but you've seen some of the nastiest people you'll find anywhere in Naples, Florida. Individuals who feel they are above the law and above everything because they feel that their money makes them better than everybody else. And it's really made living in Naples, Florida unbearable for the vast majority of people who have a little bit of decency. Recently, we saw footage of the mayor of Naples, a female who was arrested for a DUI, threatening the police officers, letting them know, hey, do you know who I am? In her pathetic drunken rant, you can actually see the Naples mayor herself threatening police officers, reminding them that she is the prestigious mayor of Naples, Florida, and she can do whatever she wants. She was, however, arrested by police officers, but it should just give you a small taste of the attitudes that people here have, the attitude that they feel because they have money that the rules simply don't apply to them. Many people even believe that because Naples is just a wealthy city, that a normal working class person like myself would be able to make all the money in the world living here, but my stories of how badly the customers treated me would just remind you that just because these people have a lot of money doesn't mean that they're good people. They're individuals that many times obtain their wealth by screwing people over systematically. So if their business practices are garbage, what makes you think their personalities are going to be like? Certainly not any better. You would really think that these people would pay you well because they're wealthy, but on the contrary, the vast majority of them only look at other people in society as, what can I extract from you? They look at other people as servants, as tools that can be used to get everything they can for themselves. Now, I'm definitely not saying that every person in Naples has this mentality. We've had people that have supported our channel through the years from Naples, Florida, individuals who have helped us tremendously, and despite the fact that they're wealthy, they remain humble and helpful and are great, kind people. So definitely not everybody in Naples is this type of snob. but boy are they plentiful. This is the iconic Naples Pier, the symbol of the city that was destroyed by Hurricane Ian almost 3 years ago. It still hasn't been repaired, and many people speculate that the reason it hasn't been repaired and it won't be repaired is because the people that live here in Naples don't want tourists coming to their city. Watch how this guy decides to stop his vehicle in the middle of the road, even though there's no pedestrians or reasons for it. He just decided he wanted to stop there. So the story being tossed around is that the Naples Pier, the iconic symbol of the city which attracts millions of people to the city every single year, is not going to be repaired because the people that live in Naples, the elite few, right? They don't want to see tourists in their city. They don't want people to visit their city because they don't want to see anybody in their city who can't afford to live there permanently. So the notion that's being thrown around is that the reason Naples Pier hasn't been repaired is because the people that live in Naples are trying to keep tourists out of their city. Imagine that. The Naples Pier, the symbol of the city, the reason why the city got its worldwide acclaim, is not being repaired since Hurricane Ian because the people that live in the vicinity of the pier have decided, well, maybe if it's not repaired, we won't have to deal with these pesky tourists from all over the world who come visit our city. The tales and stories that I could tell you guys about all the snobby and nasty behaviors that I've seen from people in those 20 years in Naples are endless. We couldn't really have enough time for all that on today's video, but my personal experiences living in this city have been confirmed today. On this particular day that I went to film this video, we stopped briefly in front of a gated community, less than 2 minutes, and we had the gate guard come out and literally, what's this guy doing right here? Yep, he's not going to wait for the light. This light it's incredible. I'm not going to wait for it, right? He just pulled a U-turn because he wasn't going to wait for the light or go around the block like everybody else. No, he's just going to pull a freaking U-turn. We stopped briefly in front of a gated community, and we actually had a lady from the gate come out, tell us she was going to call the cops. She didn't say, hey, could you guys please move, or you can't park here. No, she just said, I'm going to call the cops. You can't be here. And she actually went ahead and called the cops on us simply because we parked our vehicle in front of a gated community briefly. Now, there was actually something going on in front of the community that we wanted her to know about, being that she's the person at the gatehouse, but she was too snobby to listen to us. She closed the door, got in her gatehouse, refused to communicate with us, and got on the phone and called 911. Yes, she called the cops on us for simply, parking somewhere for a few minutes. She could have just walked up nicely and say, hey, is there a reason why you're parked here or you can't park here? That would have been sufficient. But she screamed at my wife and called the cops. These are the types of people you have in Naples. They like to escalate situations. They like to just take everything to the extreme. Now, I don't understand why people in this city are so angry. You would think that living in just a nice and beautiful setting would mellow these people out and smooth them up a little bit and relax them, right? After all, look at the ambience, palm trees and beautiful settings. Wouldn't that just make you feel the happiest person on earth? And the crazy thing about living in Florida, Naples particularly, is that despite the fact that these people have just about everything they could want as far as personal comforts, they sure as crap don't seem happy. And like I said, the stories of living in Naples for us seem to be quite endless. I remember many years back, there's a community called Colliers Reserve. It's an absolutely wealthy millionaire community only. And there was a situation where there was a double S. They took themselves out. I couldn't imagine how somebody living in Colliers Reserve could find the need to end their life in that fashion, considering that we lived in a trailer park a few miles away for 20 years, and that never once crossed my mind. How could somebody living in so much opulence and luxury not really appreciate their lives? Over the years in Naples, Florida, I met a lot of people cleaning properties, is what I did here, who did the same exact thing for some reason or another, despite the fact they were living this luxurious lifestyle, decided to end everything suddenly, leaving behind many material things that apparently didn't make them happy. And again, I had a hauling service, so when somebody would end their situation, it would always be me coming out to clean the property, and I would hear the stories about how the person, despite having all these material possessions, never really acquired happiness. But after studying the situation very carefully, I think what happens to us as humans is that once we've satisfied every desire imaginable, you get to the point where nothing really makes you happy. These individuals here have more money than they'll ever be able to spend. I don't think the average person watching today's video can really comprehend how deep the pockets of these individuals are. These are the types of individuals who, if they went on a splurge, never-ending splurge of spending money, they couldn't spend their money at a faster rate than they can make it. In other words, their businesses are generating income for them at levels that even if they tried to spend it, they couldn't. And this is the case for a lot of people in Naples who, despite living very lavish lifestyles, you get to the point where even though you're burning a lot of money, you're not able to burn it at the same rate that it's coming in. But just to give you guys some type of idea, in Naples, Florida, 1 in 10 people has $1 million liquid. That means literally available, ready to go at any moment. That means that roughly 1 in 5 households has $1 million liquid, ready to go in the bank account. I'm not talking about properties, cars, investments. I'm talking liquid. Now, as you guys know, most people who are wealthy don't keep their money liquid. They keep their money in investments. Now, the poor areas in Naples, Florida, houses are running roughly around $500,000. That's just the bottom of the barrel in Naples, Florida right now. The top 1% in Naples, Florida makes 72 times more than everybody else combined. But that's even after the notion that 1 in 5 households or 1 in 10 people has $1 million liquid. So that should just give you an idea that these are the wealthy and elite among the wealthy and elite. These aren't just rich people, these are the rich people among the rich people. And in 20 years in Naples, I worked for them all. Millionaires, multimillionaires, people into the hundreds of millions, and even billionaires. And it seems like the more money they have, the less in touch these people are with reality. How these individuals think, behave, is something beyond the understanding of a normal person like me and you. These individuals are just not in touch with reality. They simply do not understand the reality that everybody else has to face every single day. Their money makes them completely out of touch with reality. In most of these cases, these are not self-made people. They've inherited this money from 10 or 15 different places. So these are individuals who've had a silver spoon in their mouth since they were little. So their perception of society and how it works is so screwed up that the average person like me and you couldn't understand it. These aren't the people that drive a Cybertruck. These are the people that own the freaking company that makes the Cybertrucks. This is the type of money you have in Naples. You're talking about individuals who from youth have been pampered and have had everything they want. And really, it's hard for an individual like that to find self-worth because everything was already predetermined for them. And they feel like they don't have a lot of control with their own future. Now, while living in Naples, Florida, I worked for a guy that would have eventually inherited hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, to me, the guy was very agreeable, decent dude. You know, if I saw him today, I'd probably say hi to him. He was just a decent person, but surrounded in a bubble of affluence. He had some great abilities. He could have been a great comedian, for example. I thought the guy's taste in humor, even I think to this day, influences me in a lot of the work that I do. A lot of the things that he found humoristic, I decided to run with my channel. So I picked up a lot of game on this person's personality, and I really got to dive deep into the mind of people like him because I worked with him on occasions, and I thought he was a very agreeable person. But I do feel like this individual, lined up for just a massive inheritance that he had, would have at some point or another felt that he had very little control of what he could do, what he wanted to be, He had to just constantly fit the mold of what somebody else, very wealthy, set very high expectations for him that he could probably never realistically meet, or maybe he just didn't have the desire to meet. This guy would have made a great stand-up comedian or some other simple occupation. He would have been happy doing that, but I feel like the family pressured him in a situation of a lot of responsibility that perhaps he really didn't want to have. So many times when you come from a lot of money, appearances become so profound that sometimes individuals are not able to be the natural cool person they want to be because the expectations and weight that's put on their shoulders is so heavy. One thing that always caught my attention with dealing with people in Naples, Florida, is how they always thought that you were trying to stick your hand in their pockets. Me, I was just happy making enough money to live. After all, when I lived in Naples, we owned our property outright. We didn't have any financial obligations, no kids, no bills. We were just living to live. And today, my situation is a lot more complicated. And even though I have more demand now, the notion of going around snipping around other people's pockets hasn't occurred to me. But many of these rich people are always on the defensive. They always think you're trying to take their money from them. And some of the preventative steps that they take in dealing with other people in businesses are downright pathetic. For example, I worked for one person one time who owns a company that is probably, his name's probably in a red bottle in your refrigerator somewhere. Not only did this guy refuse to accept my price on the phone, he bartered me down to less, but once I actually showed up, the moment he wrote the check wasn't even for that amount, it was even less. Here's a guy who's likely a multi-millionaire. Back then, his house would have been worth about $7 million. I have no idea what it would be worth today. Despite this guy's wealth and affluence, he was trying to knock $20 off my check. But it's even deeper than that because this guy wouldn't write me the check directly from me to him. He wrote a check to his servant who wrote a check to me because he didn't want the liability of having a check from him come to me. I wasn't even good enough to get paid directly from him. He paid her and she paid me. And this should just be an eye-opening experience for you guys to know how afraid these individuals are of their money to the point where they won't even write somebody a check. They have to write a check to a third party who writes it to you. And this is just the type of pathetic behavior that these people act. And I'm sure somewhere along the line, there's a reason why he behaves that way. He had to learn that somewhere. I don't know where he learned that, but somewhere along the lines, he had to learn that as a business practice. That is eye-opening to me because the notion would never occur to me that there could be a problem with writing a check to somebody for doing a job. Now, we Cubans have a saying that goes something like, defense is always permitted. In other words, as long as you're trying to protect yourself, there's nothing wrong with a defensive maneuver. But regardless, the scummy behaviors that I dealt with some of these people should just enlighten you into the world they live in, a world where they feel that somebody's always trying to stick their hands in your pockets and take what you have from them. I know you guys have heard of these stories on the internet. In fact, one of them recently became infamous out of St. Petersburg, Florida, where an individual didn't want to pay for a job, so he pulled a gun on the person and told them once they were finished working that they had to leave the property or they were going to get shot. Now, this is a situation I've been in before. I've been in a situation where I work for somebody, and then when it was time to get paid, they pull a gun on you and tell you to leave the property because you're not going to get paid. And then they go as far as calling the cops on you. I've been in that situation in Naples, Florida, and we've seen stories on the news about it, so this isn't fabricated. In the case of the story out of St. Petersburg, Florida, it was actually the contractor who didn't want to pay the workers, and he pulled a gun and threatened the workers, but the workers actually got a legit self-defense situation going on where the contractor is no longer here. And it should serve to a warning to people that they think that they can just pull a weapon on a worker and tell them they're not going to get paid. Many times they believe that the person working is illegal, so they feel, hey, if I threaten this person, they're not going to be able to call the cops. Little do they know that many times workers are legal. They're just really nasty people. And these are people that are very wealthy. They live in houses that are worth millions of dollars, and they're pulling a gun on a worker over a $200 check, telling them to leave the property. I worked for one guy in an area of Naples off of Pine Ridge. It's called Pine Ridge. These are big, huge estates. And the properties are worth a pretty dollar in that little community. It's not probably today 3 to 5 million easy all day long. But I worked for this guy, and as soon as I finished, he threatened me, made me leave the property, and didn't pay me. Now, one day I saw his neighbor outside, and I told his neighbor, hey, your neighbor did this to me, right? And you know what he said to me? I'm like, yeah, he does that to everybody. I'm like, you're telling me that you're living in a $3 to $5 million house and you're pulling guns on your workers once they're done so you don't have to pay them? And this is the type of pathetic behavior that some of these people get engaged in. I mean, I wouldn't have time to tell you all the pathetic things that these people do, but living in Naples, Florida, a lot of these very wealthy people are very petty in the way they behave. And it's crazy because I'm a poor person and I've been hungry. I've had to borrow money from people. It's embarrassing sometimes when you're poor, the situations you're in, where you have to tell your family, hey, my bank account's negative. Hey, we don't have money for food. That's deep and painful. And it has never occurred to me to hurt somebody else or threaten somebody else to obtain money. You go through the procedure of panhandling, borrowing money from family members, selling personal possessions at a pawn shop. Never occurred to me to threaten somebody to take money from them. But these people are living in mansions and they're thinking about stealing more money from more people, which is the crazy thing because I come from a background where when I was a juvenile, I ended up in crazy situations out of necessity. And here I am as an adult and I would never hurt somebody. But these people are wealthy millionaires and they're scheming and devising ways to take money from people who have families to feed. It's the pathetic thing about it, is who they're taking it from people who have to work. So these are the types of people that live in Naples. And I mean, again, it all goes back to their business practices. Their business practices stem from their view of other people. So if their business practices that brought them to this wealth are garbage, what do you expect from these people in real life? You just don't attain to this level of money without some very questionable practices. Because again, these aren't normal levels of money. Sometimes I Uber drive for a little bit of extra money here and there. And I recently even Uber drive in Naples, Florida, on 5th Avenue, where we started today's video. I picked up somebody at one of these fancy restaurants. Do you think they tipped? No. There's times I picked up poor people in poor neighborhoods, and I've gotten a $20 tip where you see where they're going. You're like, hey, I just can't take this from you because I feel like you need it more than I do. And they refuse not to give it to you. So this should just give you an idea. I mean, I really don't think everybody in Naples is an evil person of this nature. But after living here for so many years, seeing people who are multimillionaires trying to steal my unemployment benefit from me during a recession, the list of things that I've experienced in Naples are endless. And there are some people here who are just really sad and pathetic because they have so much greed for money. They're willing to do so many scummy things for money so that they can... what are they even trying to get with so much money? What does it do for you? At some point or another, we've always caught somebody stealing from you. I know I've caught people stealing from you. And you might have some words of choice for these people when you catch them stealing from you. Perhaps about how they betrayed your trust, how they're not worth anything. I'm sure the list is endless of things you could say to somebody when you catch them stealing from you. But what do you say to somebody who is already loaded, has more money than they could possibly know what to do with, and they can't stop ripping other people off? They can't stop being scummy to people that are just trying to have the basic things they need, not luxuries. I couldn't describe the type of people that are here in Naples. And the level of entitlement and the mindset that these people have I would describe it as a predatory self-entitlement mindset. I've never had it, couldn't understand it, but I've been around it for long enough to tell you that yes, a lot of the people that live in these wealthy communities simply believe because they have a lot of money, they can do whatever they want. And it really does not fulfill happiness for these individuals because if they were happy, it would be evident. And like I've said many times, not everybody's the same. I think the number one thing a person should be when they've been living just a beautiful life of wealth and affluence is feel thankful. I remember one time I was at the Naples Pier and I had this young lady call me. When I say young, I mean she was older, kind of elderly. She called me up and she said, hey, let me tell you my travels, the things I've done. Look at this sunset. Look at the places I've been to. She told me about all the beautiful places she traveled. And I could really genuinely tell that this person was very thankful to how good life has been for her. And I'm not going to tell you that there aren't great people in Naples, because there are. And overall, it is a very safe and desirable community. But yeah, there are definitely some snobby individuals who really don't know what to do with themselves with all the money they have. And on today's video, you can see that Naples is a gorgeous and beautiful city. Most people would be able to only dream about living in a place this desirable. Safe, beautiful, peaceful, with every type of restaurant you could think of, every food you could want. If there is a desire to be met on the face of the earth, it can be found in Naples, Florida. It's absolutely a place where you can just embed yourself in self-indulgence of every type possible. It really is a beautiful and desirable place to live. But there are some people here in Naples, Florida, that have not found happiness through money, and they really do need to find purpose in life. When I think about these individuals that just want to acquire more and more money, life really has not found purpose for those individuals, because it doesn't take a whole lot of money to be happy. I mean, a little house in the Golden Gate Estates and a brand new Silverado, a few fishing poles, and enough money to go out to dinner, I would be satisfied just with that. The desire for more and more and more, couldn't really understand it. But for some of these individuals, greed is just so part of their fabric that they're never really satisfied with anything. This is the beautiful city of Naples, Florida. If you're thinking about moving here, it is definitely a beautiful place. Possibly one of the few things that sucks about Naples, Florida is how arrogant and entitled some of the people you're going to meet are going to be. I remember a while back I was in Naples, Florida, standing in line on a Walgreens, and an old lady cut me in line. And I'm sitting here like, what do I do? Can't slap an old lady. What am I going to do? You just have to let it slide. But there's people here who definitely will try your patience every single day with a level of arrogance that is just completely unmatched. And it's also a very stressful life. People are trying to keep up appearances, trying to keep up a lifestyle that's very difficult to maintain for those who don't have enough funds. So you have a lot of people in Naples that are just really, well, stretched thin, trying to persuade other people that they have the means to live a lifestyle that's completely out of their realm, while the individuals who have it enjoy it casually and don't give too much thought to it. A lot of people here really are fake it till you make it, stretching themselves far beyond their boundaries and their capacities, trying to maintain a lifestyle that they probably couldn't really afford. And those people are very stressed out. And it's crazy to think that today I drive back to the Sarasota metropolitan area where I live. It certainly isn't as fancy and beautiful as Naples, Florida, but we got great beaches. We got great nightlife. We have a very nice downtown. It isn't as big and fancy as downtown Naples, but I feel like I'm more relatable to the people in downtown here than I am to some of the snobs walking down Fifth Avenue in Naples. This guy right here in a parking lot with golf clubs, in front of a restaurant. What is that? Naples really can be kind of overwhelming because you just have people that are just really awkward in their ambiance, in their affluence. It's not my cup of tea. I was there for way too long. I did enjoy the safety and the access to just about every type of thing you could want. It really wasn't the place that convinced me to leave. It was the people. It was the people that I just had no more patience to deal with. This is Naples, Florida. Again, if you're able to live here and afford this lifestyle, nothing wrong with that. I did it for many years. I feel really thankful that I was able to spend so much of my life in just a beautiful place. If you are able to afford it and want to give it a try, it may be great for you. Me, personally, after 20 years, it's about as much as I can have of this place. I lived it to the full. I've done everything there is to do, and it just seems redundant to me since I've already burnt this place out more than once.